children of the night, what music they make.
They're all gonna laugh at you!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's that?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash you a bit.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Final Guys. We have a very special episode. I had to go with it. So we have two very special guests. First, my name is Tim Meyer, joined by Jason Brandt.
Yep.
Jack Campisi.
Hello.
Hunter Shea.
Hiawatha.
And we have two very special guests tonight, James Newman and Steensland. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, this is awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear Tim, or is it just me?
It's a little rough.
I'm actually getting an echo now that I wasn't getting before we started. So if anybody has earbuds or something you can put in, you might want to try it. But I can hear you fine.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback on my end as well. I hear like some echoing going on, but
Jersey Devil interference down by where
it's not me, man. I think it's you.
Not this time, buddy. Not this time.
It's usually you. Anyway,
Look,
we have
my studio so advanced.
We have two very special guests. The writers of The Special, the new movie that just came out, hit Prime recently, probably within the last couple of weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it popped up. I guess first, maybe just introduce yourselves real quick and let everybody watching, listening, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Who's going first?
You can go first, Mark.
I'm afraid the feedback may be from me, and my headphones are beyond reach. So I'll try to get those when James is introducing himself. So I'm Mark Steensland, the co-writer here of The Special. And James and I have done a number of different things together. In addition to The Special, we also co-wrote a novella called In the Scrape, and then I adapted a novel of his into screenplay format. His book Animosity is actually how we met, so we can talk about that maybe. So that goes back a ways, and that's who I am.
James Newman. Like Mark said, we co-wrote In the Scrape and The Special together, and he's also adapted a novel, Animosity, which I would love to see. What writer wouldn't say that? But I would love to see that come to fruition one day because his screenplay is just phenomenal. Also, the author of The Wicked, Midnight Rain, Odd Man Out, and Ride or Die coming out this summer from Silver Shamrock. So that's me.
Oh, nice. Hey, another Silver Shamrock part of the family here.
Hell yeah.
Love working with them.
We're going to get Jason in one of these days. You know, when he stops going rogue and just doing his own thing.
Are three of you with them now? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the three of us or four of us, I think Hunter, you're in it too, like the Midnight anthologies.
Midnight in the Graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all in that. So
you could use that book as a weapon. It's so thick.
Yeah.
So to just clarify for me, because I stumbled upon The Special in my surfing of Amazon new releases or whatever, and I bookmarked it. Then Jason watched it and reported it on the show, and I was like, "Oh my god, I bookmarked that, but I hadn't got around to it yet." So I wasn't aware that it was a book. So you guys wrote both the book and the movie?
Correct.
Novella. Yep.
Novella.
Yeah. And sorry, my headphones aren't going to work. So we're going to have to.
No worries.
It's actually gotten better.
Yeah.
And was that a pop-up book?
It should be. Yeah, for sure. We should do the graphic novel version next. Yeah.
Listen, for merchandising, you've got So many ways to go with that.
Endless opportunity there.
Yeah, waiting for the rip-off merchandise to start showing up on, who knows where. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, it started a really long time ago. Actually, I always like to say that because people make this comparison to the SNL sketch Dick in a Box for obvious reasons. And I thought of this idea before the Dick in the Box sketch came out. So it was that long ago. And I was working with some actors because I'm also a filmmaker, of course. And I was working with some actors, and we were doing some short films like Peekers and The Ugly File, and I wanted to do a feature. And so this idea kind of started to be something that we were thinking maybe we were going to try to do. And so I developed it a little bit at that point. Then, Dick in a Box came out, and so that was kind of just a funny thing. But it just kind of lived for a little while as this idea. And then, of course, James and I have been working together already. And so I invited him on board this. And, James, you remember actually saying no to me at first because I think you looked at the idea and read what I had and said, no, I don't think it was totally because you weren't for the idea, but I think you had some scheduling things maybe going on and stuff like that. And then
I do want to interject just to say I do joke around a lot about how Mark brought it to me and I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's not true.
That's a normal reply.
Yeah, if you say that stuff, it's totally joking. But I always like to joke around about that. But it was strictly scheduling, so he can finish the story.
Yeah. So I was like, well, that's too bad, and so I kind of put it back into simmer, so to speak, and eventually James came back to me and said, no, I can't get this story out of my mind, and is it still something that we can do? And so then we went to work on it and got the novella finished, and Thunderstorm did a real nice special edition in hardcover, and then Bloodshot put out the real nice paperback shortly after that. And that was about the same time that this filmmaker, Harrison Smith, had finally kind of got all of what he wanted to put together in terms of making the film. So it really kind of worked out ideally for him to then say, we're going into production like in January or whenever that was. And so then the movie, finally came out last October after playing, let's see, I can't remember if we played more than just the one. Yeah, we played a couple. Oh, yeah, sure. World premiere in San Francisco at the SF Indie Film Festival, and then Grimfest over in England, where the film won special effects, which was pretty exciting. And then, out on VOD in October and DVD now, as you said, just hit Prime. And they're hoping it'll show up on Shudder. We're hoping that Shudder will pick it up
perfect
at some point. Yeah, so we think it would be good there.
Although, really, that movie should have premiered in Times Square back in the 70s.
Thank you.
Yeah, back where I got my fake ID.
Yeah.
If you guys could get Joe Bob to show this on the last drive-in, it is like a perfect Joe Bob movie.
Would love that commentary.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, a lot of people have said, double bill with Basket Case or, something like that. I mean, that's clearly the same sort of zone that we were thinking about, obviously, with, a contemporary, hopefully contemporary kind of feel for it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, James and Mark, we have drinking words that come up because somebody out there has the liver the size of a blue whale that drinks along with this, we think. So I don't want to disappoint Sharon, who creates these words. So if Jack says SNL, hotel, or affair, knock a shot back. If I say rub, king, or goop, have a good hazy IPA. Jason, if you say troopers, which you're not going to say this week, right or wood, drink it up. Whiskers, Meyer, your words are indie, steals, and addiction. And any of the six of us can say special dick or box.
You're going to die.
And, they're already up to about 20 words.
Someone's already.
So I wanted to ask you guys, and I need to ask more people who come on the show this question, especially if they're writers. What happened to you as a child to make you A, want to write, and B, write horror?
I love telling this story. My dad, for whatever reason, I can't imagine, although it sounds exactly like something I would do, I can't imagine why he would do this. But when I was all of 4 years old, my dad took me to the theater to see The Incredible Melting Man. Now, that's a pretty sleazy, B movie.
Yeah.
And I was, it was all downhill from there. I mean, I was terrified, but I loved it too. About a year later, both of my parents took my younger sister and I to the drive-in to see the original Halloween. And it's weird that this memory of when I was 5 years old, it's still very, very vivid. I can still very vividly remember when Michael is trying to get Laurie in the closet and the coat hangers are bouncing around. And I remember being terrified in the back seat, crying, wanting to go home. My mom would turn to my dad, say, "This was not a good idea. We need to go home." And I'd be popped up, no. And I didn't want to go home. So, my parents are to blame. I've loved this stuff ever since. And my mom says ever since I was old enough to, hold a crayon and write sentences that I've made up, little monster stories. And
writing red rum on the refrigerator.
Yep.
He does that one more time.
That's awesome.
So my story is sort of similar. I'm a little bit older. I'm kind of in the monster kid generation almost. My older brother was a monster kid, and one of my older brothers anyway. So I had around me all of the Aurora models and famous monsters, creepy, eerie, all of that stuff in the early 70s. But and I know we don't talk religion on the show, but sorry. My dad was an Episcopal minister, and so in the late 60s, this was at the time like Anton LaVey started the Church of Satan in 66, and there was a lot of this kind of stuff going on, and my dad was very savvy as far as the culture was concerned. And so when Rosemary's Baby came out, he, had heard a lot about the movie. He wanted to go see the movie to find out what is going on here. What does this look like, And so he took the whole family to the drive-in to see Rosemary's Baby. I was 4, and I was supposed to be asleep in the back of the family station wagon. And all my brothers, my older brothers, were all much older than I am, 7 years older, 11 years older, 13 years older than I am. So they were all, okay with it. And so I was in the back of the station wagon, and I wasn't sleeping at all. I was listening to the entire movie. And it got to the point in the movie where the doctor says that the baby is due on June 28th. And I sat up and said, "That's my birthday." And everybody looked at me like, oh, okay, you're not asleep at all. And so, that I think was certainly combined with some of the other stuff going on had a profound impact. At the same time, Night Gallery debuted, and my parents were very interested in seeing that because they were huge Twilight Zone fans. And so I was watching, Night Gallery on television. And then my father died when I was 6. And suddenly I found myself in a funeral parlor, looking at his corpse in a casket and going to a graveyard to put him in the ground. And it was what I was seeing in these movies was suddenly in my real life. And, it just had a very profound effect on me. Suddenly death became this very real enemy in a way. And I think that horror films, especially, which treat death as an enemy so frequently and often depict heroes fighting death and beating death in a lot of different ways, it became something that was a kind of storytelling in a genre that I had, this really deep connection to. And so I think that really kind of kicked it off.
That was beautiful. Now, where'd you come up with sticking a dick in a box?
Well, I mean, the thing is that I think a lot of people have commented on how the movie is a metaphor for addiction. And, yes, that's what it is supposed to be at absolutely at that level. I think some people make the mistake of thinking it's only about sexual addiction, because it's not. It's about anything that somebody does that changes their physical person in a bad way, and they keep doing it. And I was really inspired by the original idea was really inspired by the campaign, the anti-methamphetamine campaign that the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office in Oregon did, where they had these, I don't know if you remember this, with the mug shots of people arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Time you could see their faces just, from looking good to suddenly being covered with sores and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, it's incredible to me that people continue to do this when they can see the terrible stuff that is happening to them. And my wife is a nurse, and she sees this kind of stuff all the time. People coming in with, all sorts of horrible teeth falling out, and sores all over their body and everything. And all they want to do is get back on the street so they can get more drugs. So that really became the idea of what would somebody do and keep doing, even when it was so terrible for them. And this, kind of became the way to do that. I think it was also just such a freaky sort of image that I thought it could really be interesting visual.
Oh, it's interesting. That's a good way of putting it. I guess I wanted to ask, how involved were you guys in the filmmaking process?
Well, we had written the screenplay. Bruce, the director, did a little tweaking of his own to changing a few little things along the way that are kind of different from the book in some spots. But from a production standpoint, of course, for that, the way the film came together was through a guy, special effects makeup artist that I worked with on a couple of my shorts, whose name is Mark Kazabucky. And Mark had worked with Bruce on some other films. And so Mark told Bruce about this, and that's how it kind of came together. But in terms of actually ever being on set or any of that kind of stuff, neither one of us did that.
Okay, I was just curious if
it's actually
James
cool.
was. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, while we weren't there, it's actually pretty cool. Mark mentioned that we've known each other for 8 years, I guess. I don't think I've ever remember to it, something like that. And 10 years, 12, I don't know. Anyway, we've never met in person. And then back at the premiere in San Francisco, my day job took me to Corona, California, which is probably about 6 hours drive south of Frisco, right, Mark? And I was given the opportunity to be off that weekend and fly up, and just the stars aligned. And it was the weekend that the premiere was happening. Mark and I hung out all weekend. It was fantastic. So yeah. Other than that, we've never met, but that just brought us together. It was cool.
Did you have a fear that if you finally met, you'd be like, I don't really like this guy at all?
Not at all. We've spoken on the phone, and we just got a great relationship. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's funny because I really don't want to meet Jack or Hunter. I've never met either one of them. So
yeah, you definitely do not want to meet either one of them.
What I was going to say is I was curious if you guys had been on set or whatever, if you knew about the casting process, because I'd love to know how you cast the main actor. Like, what is that conversation like? Do you want me to fuck a box 6 times?
They put a box in the table and just said,
yeah.
That was
And he completely goes for it. Like that's one thing I really admired is he does
the
not
chemistry
play.
between him and the box was amazing.
It's unreal. Yeah. But like he could have played it hammy or taken it, in like a different direction. And the fact that he plays it so straight, I think helps really make it, and it doesn't turn it into like a joke.
Yeah, that was Bruce's. He was really committed to the idea of not making it into something that was like a parody. He wanted it to be serious because he's like, it's already weird enough. It doesn't need to be weird. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to make fun of this. I mean, this is really what is happening here. And I know he'd worked with Davey before. So when he talked to Davey about the part and what was involved, I mean, Dave, the interesting thing is you think it's such a weird thing, but actors want to play roles that nobody else plays. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for something that nobody else has done. Who else has ever done something like that? And so, So from an actor standpoint, in a way, it's very appealing.
I love the story Harrison, the director, tells that they intentionally got the dick in a box joke out of the way immediately when he gets into the box, because you're going to get that. I do it too, not dick in a box, but make that joke from SNL. And it was just, I don't know. I thought that was really brilliant that they intentionally, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way.
Actually, they did that. They mentioned like the fleshlight, like I think they went through all the stuff that a guy watching this movie would be like, okay, here's the check boxes of what I'm thinking. You guys hit a lot of those early.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I really enjoyed the movie. I was watching it and I kept going, I love that you guys had the balls to go there. Because this movie really could have been like, you could have like, it could have wimped out, and it doesn't. And
no, it's gratuitous. Yeah, like you guys went for it. I love that.
My impression of it was this was like one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, because it actually follows through the whole thing and it is not afraid to show you, but it's not like a porno movie. Like there's not a lot of nudity or anything like that, but it's just explicit enough what it needs to be. So I like I said, I thought I really enjoyed the whole thing, and the ending. We could get to when we get to spoilers. We could talk about the ending, but the ending was just
love the
I love how weird it gets too. Like it gets super weird, and then it goes into like body horror, which is like one of my favorite things ever. So I love that aspect of it. I wanted to ask a question about writing the novella versus writing the screenplay together, and like what that process was like. And was it more difficult to write the screenplay? Because in my experience, it's harder to co-write a screenplay than it is like prose. So I just kind of wanted to find out what you guys thought of that whole process.
James?
Oh God. Well, Mark is the screenplay guy. I've written a few little things here and there, but he drives that. Where I probably, the byline on the novella versus the byline on the screenplay probably tells you everything you need to know about that, because he's the expert there. Not that Mark is not an expert at prose, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. We took the driver's seat on each. I wish I had
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
When you started writing this, by the way, when Jason first said this last week, I laughed, thought he was pulling our leg. But then he was I could see like the joy on his face, and I immediately watched. Like usually I don't pay attention to what he suggests, and I was like, I went downstairs, I turned it right on. I was like, wow, this shouldn't work in every way possible, and the thing works from start to finish. When you started writing this, did you in your mind know what was in the box? or did that come later?
Well, the original version, if we go way back to the very start, and as I mentioned, this idea of the addiction thing, but I also had a conception originally that this was going to be okay, wait for it. This was going to be furless tribbles, okay, and they were aliens from outer space, okay, and the guy, every time you had sex with one of these things, it multiplied, and so it was going to be like this kind of alien invasion thing where a guy has the thing in the box and he takes it and then it turns into 2 and then his roommate is getting it and then that turns into 4 and and so, but I quickly realized that the problem with something like that is obviously in scale, and how do you convince somebody that they need to make a movie that is got that much going on of that particular kind of behavior, and so I thought it would be more interesting if it was narrowed down to a single character. Like that became more powerful from the addiction standpoint, if we followed the one guy as he went through this process, as opposed to the other thing where it was, kind of all over the place. And so, once that decision was made, then it really just became a matter of following the trajectory, of the one person's interaction with the thing. I want to say, just for Tim, because you said body horror is your favorite, and I will tell you, as a side note, when I was exploring the possibility of doing this as a film myself, I actually really tried to get Cronenberg to play the doctor in a cameo. I really worked hard to try to get him to say yes to a cameo as the doctor. And, of course it didn't ever happen, but it would have been really fun to have Cronenberg as the doctor that he goes to see and saying, whatever it is that you and your penis are doing.
Oh, that would have been so perfect.
Yeah,
it would have.
I did think the only thing that could make it better is if the main character was Christopher Walken. I would love to see what he does with that box.
Can we get a sequel with dick-sucking aliens that are like gremlins? But you can't get them wet. You can't like jizz on them or whatever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like they take over the world. That would be a great sequel.
Yeah,
dirty critters.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And that's why I think it was obvious that was something that kind of had already been explored. So
listen, what you decided to put in that box, number one, thank God you showed it, because halfway through the movie, I'm like, if they don't show what's in it,
did you think it was gonna be like a Pulp Fiction? Oh, it's just gonna glow a little bit when they open the lid.
But two, what you decided to put in that box made the movie.
Let's just say spoilers from here on out, because I've been wanting to ask.
Yeah, yes, totally.
Ring a bell.
It's so dark and twisted that my jaw dropped when I saw what was happening at the end. So which one of you, did one of you come up with that, or did you both just spitball until that's what you landed on?
I told you who was responsible for this.
Putting it all on Mark.
Yeah. I mean, it. Yeah. I really, I have to credit. Being very honest, I have to credit Pumpkinhead for really kind of giving me the insight that I needed for that ending. And I'm a huge Pumpkinhead fan, and the ending of Pumpkinhead just absolutely destroyed me. And so when I was thinking about this, and I mean, I really didn't think that that's where I was going, that's where it was going to go. And then when I thought about that particular idea, and then I knew that's what would work. And, so, and I mean, it's pretty clear that yes, it does, for people.
That's some dark shit.
Yeah.
When things started rolling and we knew this was going to happen, and, the movie had been greenlit. It was real. I remember asking you, Mark, and the director as well. Like, are they actually going to do that? They're going to keep the ending. Yep. So they're going to do this. Yeah. They're going to put this. Yeah. Just relax. You're going to be happy. They're going to do that. And I was just like, no, there's no way. We're going to be disappointed. And then we saw it. And I think I can speak for Mark as well. We were just like, oh, holy shit. They did. We were just so pleased.
Yeah.
It really elevates the movie because I was really enjoying it. But once that happens, I walked away like, Jesus Christ, like what?
Yeah, like being a big, body horror fan myself, two of my favorites, The Thing and The Fly, I was like, we got a low budget movie here, so I would never presume to compare it to those, but the practical effects and everything, I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe I had my name on this. So,
Well,
in a good way, obviously.
Yeah.
Part of it is when you first see what's in the box, you're looking at like, what the hell is that? And you get some looks at it, but you never show your cards enough to know. And then there's that moment where you're like, oh no.
What
goes around comes around.
I think I mentioned this to you, Mark, early on. One of the things that I found most horrifying is, and I know we said spoilers, but we've still sort of danced around it, so I'm not feeling right. But did you guys happen to notice, if you blink and you miss it, when it goes in, that it's still moving?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I got cold chills just saying that. There's something about that bothered me so bad. It's just fucking awesome, man.
When there's a scene and I watch it, I go, well, like a Atlantic City hooker, you can fuck it, but don't kiss it. I was like, oh, don't do that. But going back to in the beginning, I like the fact that this movie starts with this marriage is kind of broken because she's cheated on him. Mm-hmm. And it helps me sympathize with him more, slipping into this weird addiction with the box. Just knowing that, he's got a wife at home who's cheated on him and doesn't seem the least bit concerned. She's just pretty much on his case. She should be a little, I don't know. There just didn't seem to be any kind of her trying to mend that relationship.
Well, you find out later that he did cheat.
Right.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was delivering a snowblower.
The IPA's deep for you.
So, you know what? I was so fixated on the box. I was busy making my box.
But
don't make your own box, by the way. That should be a disclaimer.
The thing, though, you were saying about like it's more than just addiction. The strain in their relationship and the distance that between them. You hear about all that like with addiction to pornography and other things like that. Mm-hmm. But one thing that was great about this movie was the speed at which he accelerates for pacing in this movie. Like he freaking goes off the deep end pretty quick, and he kills the woman in the place, the fortune teller woman, and you're just like, holy crap! Like so that box really must have been something special.
Well, it was the special.
It was the special, man.
I will also say that with respect to the ending, I don't know. I'm guessing everybody is fairly familiar with the joke about, it's. I think it's been told as like either in hell or on the ship, where every day this week we stick our dicks in this barrel and get blowjobs, and every day, this day of the week we get to do this and so on. And then what do we do on Fridays? Oh, it's your turn in the barrel, right? And so there was also that element, again, that was something that clearly influenced what was going on with the ending. Is just, again, what goes around comes around. The horror of what you do to yourself, and what you do to others. I mean, this is the thing. It's not with addiction. I mean, it's not just what you're doing to yourself. Of course, as we know, it's what's happening to everybody else around you, all the people who care about you, and all the people who are trying to help you, perhaps, or dealing with your, your stuff. And so again, the total picture there.
I've read a couple of lukewarm to negative reviews that have mentioned that Davy's character was a piece of shit to women. He objectified them. They were something to be used and abused. And the reviews spoke of that negatively, and I'm like, well, we nailed it then. No pun intended.
Right.
Because that exactly. He is a piece of shit as he goes downhill. And he does use women and treat his wife like something to, the sex scene is very unsexy. The look on her face is so troubled because it's just a warm place for him to, do what he wants to do. And so I don't see that as a negative thing because that was intentional. He is gradually going downhill and treating the people that he once cared about like nothing.
Yeah. In terms of addiction, you guys nailed that changing of personality. Everyone, and you just watch them flame out at work, at home, everywhere, the friends. And I've lived through that, and it's for that you guys nailed that arc.
Well, it only takes 2 alien BJs till he's killing people. Right?
Yeah. It's got to be good.
Yeah, listen, when he kills his wife, that's a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, well, actually, there's 2 because we were just watching a movie. What the Deeper You Dig, I think it's called, where there's something similar happens where a guy thinks he kills somebody, and then she comes back to life, and he panics and he kills her again. And you're like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he kills his best friend, which the guy who plays the best friend is great too.
Yeah.
He really
and that was like a nice, horrible way to die with the bag over his head. But yeah, so like the stakes went up. Like that's again, like I said, I just like that it wasn't pulling any punch. It was like right off the bat he kills somebody, and then he is just fixated on this thing, and he's in that hotel room, and you just see how low. It reminded me a little bit of like Breaking Bad, like a supernatural Breaking Bad, where you're in Jesse's house with all these people, and I was thinking the same thing you were saying. I was like, what does meth do to you that makes you want it so badly? That's what that box was doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to me, I think of stories like 2 kinds of stories. You've got exemplary stories where you're holding up the characters and you're saying, here's the way people should behave. Here are heroes that we want to emulate and so forth. And admonitory stories where you're looking at people doing bad stuff and you're saying, okay, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to imitate that. And to me, if you go back to Shakespeare and you say Hamlet is the guy who is, really trying to do the right thing all the way through. And Macbeth is the guy who is doing the wrong thing at absolutely every stage, right? And so, it is that same arc, right? I mean, it's getting convinced of something and then just going down that path. Let's kill the king, and then you could be king. Okay, now let's kill your friend, and now let's kill, and so on until there's just no outcome other than what you get, except, that's what happens to people who do this kind of thing. And so hopefully then, again, with our ending, we have that something to think about after it's over, that metaphorical idea of, you really become what you are addicted to. I mean, that's really ultimately the way that I thought of it.
Yeah, you had like that
awkward
Tales
pause
from the Dark Side. You had that Tales you had that Tales from the Dark Side ending.
Okay.
When he went to the hotel, because if you're gonna get your box to bang, you got to get a hotel room for that and pay for it weekly. I swear to God, you mentioned basket case before. When I watched the movie, I said, I will shit myself if he walks out the door and out comes the dude from Basket Case holding his basket, and they like bump into each other in the hall and just pass each other by.
Great.
It was a cleaner hotel, though. Much cleaner than Basket Case's hotel.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention another part that bothered me. Like the killings and all that are very obvious, but the one part when it really settled into me how crazy this guy has gotten is when he breaks into the box and he pulls out what looks like a pulsating brain or something, like, because you can't really see it clearly. And he puts it down. And I'm like, oh, this is going to snap him out of it. And instead, he like sticks his dick in it. And I'm like, oh, this guy is gone. Like, he now knows what's in the box.
Well, then later he's cuddling with it later.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, to me, that really settled in how gone he was.
I was going to say, Jason, he didn't just stick his dick in it. He was whispering sweet nothings in its earphone.
Yeah.
He was doing it well.
He went to making love.
Yes.
It did seem like he fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It looked cuddly. Like, I would have cuddled that thing.
It was love at first goop.
Oh, God.
Got the drinking word in.
Yeah.
Chad Lutsky has a question in the comments. Was there any significance with a psychic being the front for the brothel?
Well, that's an interesting question, because that's one of the things that is a little different from the novella. And in the novella, the psychic just has the box. There is no brothel. There are no other girls at the psychic's place. It's just something that she has, and it's kind of like a side business. And she really is, she's supposed to be a psychic, and she has her, bodyguard. And then she has this thing in the back room that people who don't use her card reading services can come and have the special. And so, Bruce wanted to expand that part of it and, add the other aspect to it. And I think it's interesting. I mean, the way that it worked out, to tie in with the rest of the story and so forth. But yeah, I mean, that was really I think if you're looking for some kind of metaphorical significance, then I don't know. I mean, maybe just kind of tying into the idea of, going to somebody for quote unquote spiritual help and, not really getting it.
For me, it made me just, it opened up the supernatural door a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing was, the probably strongest, best, most tender relationship was between Madame Zora and her giant bodyguard.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the only stable relationship in the entire movie.
That's
which
funny.
I thought was kind of cute.
I wanted to ask about that guy. What is his deal that he knows about this? Did you come up with a backstory for him? Or was it you just wanted it to just be this creepy dude who's putting severed heads in boxes?
Well, I mean, he is working with her. He is the kind of the bodyguard. I mean, I don't know. I never really thought of the relationship between the two of them other than, it's a little bit leaning towards a criminal enterprise, so we have a guy who's probably done some stuff. Maybe he brought it to her, I don't have anything really specific, but yeah, I mean, that's the idea, is it's this kind of shady back room sort of thing,
I felt like he was pretty in on it, because I mean, he makes the boxes.
Yeah.
He knows that. So, they must have come over from, Eastern Europe,
right,
with their box in tow.
Yes.
They can make a box really fast too.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
I always imagine him being very protective of Madame Zora, but especially in the novella, he was really quick to take over the under new management role. He wasn't too displeased with that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wondered what's going to happen to the brothel now that, you can't have a guy fronting it. Maybe I thought, maybe Sin will take over. But she still looks kind of good. You don't want to make her the madam.
How was the reaction to this been? Because I watched a couple of YouTube reviews, and it seemed like, I could find people who are raving about it, and other people were like, "What the hell is this?" I think we all loved it.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
What's it been for you guys? Have you guys noticed one way or the other?
Yeah, it seems to be an even mix. Wouldn't you say, Mark? I mean, I've seen a couple reviews that I try not to curl up in a fetal position and cry about. Folks who they were highly offended by it. you know. And then there are folks like you guys who seem to love it. And even the ones in the middle, I usually find something to like about their reviews, because even though when they took it at face value, most of them seem to like be disgusted by the idea itself. But I would say more viewers than not seem to also get what it was about at a deeper level.
Mhm.
Even if, they didn't necessarily agree with the way we chose to tell that story. Even the lukewarm reviews, there's something to like about them. Most people seem to get it.
Yeah. Well, there had to be some trepidation, though, putting a movie like this out now in a culture that now we've gotten rid of Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and Pepe Le Pew is gone from Space Jam 2 for promoting rape culture. You're like, wow, this could go really bad. Like, this could start some Twitter war or something,
Yeah, I mean, early on, at one point, again, when I was, kind of trying to get different producers involved, and I went to one of these speed pitch sessions where you meet with producers, you pitch them your stuff, you have 5 minutes to do that, and then the buzzer rings or the buzzer goes off, and you go back to the line and you go to another table. And I ran into, within 2 meetings, like one person saying, "This is amazing, I love this idea," and the other person saying, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" That's thing I've ever heard in my life. And so to me, it's like that's the same thing with the reviews. And we knew that that's what this was going to be. It was going to be this kind of divisive idea, and better that than just meh. And I think that there's an audience for everything. Ultimately, right? I mean, if you can sell Bigfoot romance books, there is an audience for everything. And so it's just a matter of finding the right audience. I mean, that's really what you're always trying to do. And in the case of this, as James said, people get it, and I think that is to our benefit, is that it's clearly that the movie was not just about being some kind of exploitation thing. It would have been really easy to just kind of be a total gross out for the whole running time, and and not really have anything. But it was not, obviously not that. And so I think that has been to our benefit in a lot of ways, clearly.
That's what I thought, because I was like, it's a fun, entertaining movie, but you're taking the subject matter seriously instead of just like being shocking for shock value, So, I think the crowd that we run with, we call them, we call people that don't watch our, mainstream people, we call them normies. I'm like, I don't know if I would suggest this movie to a normie, but for somebody who watches or listens to this podcast, I'm like, oh my God, yes, you got to check this one out. No doubt.
I would only suggest this to normies just so I can get their reaction. Unfettered reaction.
I totally would too.
I feel like I have a pretty good test that can speak to that. So my day job, my teammates on my day job know that I'm a writer, and they know what kind of stuff I write. And very few of them have any desire to read it because they're not horror fans. But when they hear that you've got a movie coming out, they want to know all about it. And you're like, oh my God. Right? But there's no way around it. So
it's a romance. It's a rom-com.
Yeah. This thing's hitting Amazon Prime. There's no hiding from it. So I just put it out there. Like, got a movie coming out. What's it about? Well, here's the trailer. Most of them were pretty horrified. Like basically, I led with, it is exactly what you think it is. Here's the trailer. And they were horrified, but they were like, James had a part in this, so we want to see it because, it's a good team. They like me, I like them, so they had to see it. And I would say probably 90% of them have seen it. And even though they're not really horror fans, maybe it's just what they're telling me. But so far, unanimously, we absolutely love it. That we get what you were trying to do, and that was awesome. That was sick, but that was awesome.
Right. Yeah,
So,
sick
hey,
concept, awesome execution.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that it's so bold and refreshing and original. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're just digging through crap all the time just to find something like this. So
Yeah.
that's why we were so hooked on it. Once Jason found it, we were like, oh, we have to watch this.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
finding something that makes me go, oh, like that doesn't really happen that much anymore. So when this movie ended, I was like, I'm going to remember this for a long time.
Cool.
Important question: do either one of you have one of the prop boxes?
No, I actually constructed the original version back when we were, in the early days, and I had I designed some kind of preliminary posters and some of that stuff, and Bruce used a lot of those images early on before we got before the distributor did the the quote unquote real poster. So if you see any of the other posters floating around, that is, features the box that I constructed. In one of the posters, there's a picture of a person holding the box, and that is me holding the box, in a kind of a shady room, and so forth. So yeah, I mean, but that unfortunately that prop is long gone also. So.
Well, when you come
Hunter's
out with
very
I'm telling you, when you come out with like the Blu-ray or some special edition, it has to come in a box. I mean, the box has to be part of the whole marketing.
Yeah, right.
I did have one more question here. When I know this is a really low budget film, but did you guys get a sales bump when the film comes out of your novella? Because I've heard like from some authors, they get like obviously Josh Mallerman with Bird Box got a huge explosion, and then I talked to some other guys who were like, "Yeah, I saw nothing."
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. And we did the movie tie-in version because Brian Keene was a huge fan of it. He saw it at the premiere in Pennsylvania, and he really, really liked it. And so he'd written on his blog about how much he liked it. And so then we asked him, could we use that as an introduction in a new movie tie-in edition of the book? And so he did that for us. But I don't know that that it seems like a lot of people are like, they know about the movie, but they don't know about the book, or they know about the book and they don't know about the movie. So, that's another kind of casualty of being low budget, is you don't have the kind of media coverage that you want to have,
It's
Right.
also it's being a victim of the genre, because I mean, James, you've been to these trade shows, so you go there as an author and you've got this great booth set up and all your books out there, and people just walk right by. But if I'm the 17th Jawa that appeared in a Star Wars fan film, they're going to pay $30 for my autograph. It's just that's the way it is.
Yeah,
That's
true.
That's sad.
It is sad. Although I think, James, I met you a while in Horrified way back in the day.
I very vividly remember that. We spoke for quite a while.
That was
Hunter hammered?
Probably.
No. That was back when I had my shit together. I was much better then. I also had my kids with me, I think. But that was like the one con where you could go like, hey, look, people who actually want to read and understand the value of books. And that's now more for the Scares That Care.
Yep.
So hopefully they do Scares That Care this year, and I know we're all dying to get back there and sell some books.
Yeah, I've never been to a Scares That Care.
It's Horrified in Virginia, basically. They just, gave it a new name.
It's great. You should go. I want a signed copy of the special. I really do. I bought the book and ebook yet. I didn't get to read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, thanks.
Jason's going to write the sequel called Stuck in the Box.
My Life in the Box.
All right. So we're coming up on 9. I know, Mark, you got to get out of here. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about, like what's coming up soon from you guys?
Well, my next movie, it world premieres next week at South by Southwest. I wrote a movie called Jacob's Wife that is starring Barbara Crampton and Larry Fessenden and Bonnie Irwin. And Barbara produced it as well. My screenplay won Shriekfest back in 2015, and Barbara got attached as a producer shortly thereafter. And it's been a very long road. We barely got the shoot in last year before the country shut down for the pandemic. And so that, as like I said, will be at South by Southwest. And then it's already been picked up for distribution. That should be, I think it'll be on VOD in April, and then I think it'll be on Shudder later in the summer or fall or something like that. So
it will be on Final Guys.
Yeah.
I mean, look, now it's you and Barbara Crampton. No offense, we find her a little more attractive than you, so
we look forward to having you and Barbara on this summer.
Yeah, well, we can try. She is so busy. She's just so busy now. I've just watched it just get better and better for her, so it's been really a lot of fun. So she's great.
Yeah,
great.
Her comeback is amazing.
Yeah.
And now she's writing for Fangoria too.
Yeah, really excited about that.
What do you have going on, James?
So Mark and I are working on the next one. Pretty early stages right now, but we're working on another collaboration. And then in June, I believe it is, June or July, Silver Shamrock is going to be putting out my novella Ride or Die. I'm pretty excited about that. It's a coming of age story from the point of view, never done this before, coming of age story from the point of view of a group of girls. That was sort of challenging to write from a teenage girl's perspective.
I would think that would be second nature for you.
Yeah.
I want to see a book. I want to see a book written, but from the perspective of the box.
Hey, Mark, something to think about.
Yeah. Right. It would just be goop, goop, gabloop, bloop.
Yeah. Jack could actually read that book, so that'll work out.
Yeah, you might be able to finish it in under a year.
Thumbs up.
By the way, I have to say, James, your book, The Wicked, has one of my favorite covers of the last decade.
Dude, that cover is so sick. I love that cover.
Yeah, I'm still so very proud of that. Like, I still sit and stare at it sometimes and just, well, they nailed it. It's just,
yeah, seriously, that's like a cover. Like, I was like, I'd put that in a frame. That's not even my book.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
The Wicked.
The Wicked.
Yeah.
The words
and the interior is as good as the exterior.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, cool. So I guess that's our episode for this week. Thanks
Everybody go watch this movie and tell a friend.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Tell all your friends. Tell your grandma. Tell your grandpa. Tell the little girl across the street. You'll go watch the special.
I love it.
Easter's coming up.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for having us.
thanks
Thanks for coming on, guys. It was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.